Hello, I'm Dr. Cresswell, and in the second video, I'm going to talk about how we understand poverty as a team. We arrived at this understanding by considering what scholars had to say about the topic. While poverty should never simply be understood theoretically, since it has such deep personal impact on those experiencing it, it is important to consider carefully what poverty is and how people become vulnerable to it in broad terms before trying to understand how it affects particular individuals. The pandemic destabilized many aspects of our social, political, and economic life, with unforeseen changes still likely to occur. One way to examine these changes and how they compare to our previous circumstances is by examining newly vulnerable Canadians, that is, those who become recently at risk of poverty. We argue in favor of employing a systems framework to poverty understanding. This framework involves thinking about poverty as made up of a number of social, political, and psychological systems. We frame poverty as a product of numerous social and community factors that impact individuals, rather than just a state of being or economic definition. This approach gives us the best chance of identifying possible solutions to our problems. It is important to base interventions not only on academic research, but also on the needs of the community as expressed by its members. We hope that we can contribute to others' understandings of our social, political, and economic systems and how they've affected those on the margins of society, which can then inform others' attempts at creating positive change. In employing systems analysis in this way, we drew on three related psychological factors that underlie such systems: quality of life, social status, and social capital. All of these shape the shared experiences of different people and groups in our society as a whole, and how we pursue our shared goals. The following will describe these three psychological factors, as well as their relevance to our discussion of the pandemic's effect on our social, political, and economic systems. Quality of life describes a person's perception of their physical, mental, and social health. Factors that affect this can range from recovering from a physical illness, managing a psychological condition, or simply having access to reliable transport and safety. Researchers noted that the pandemic has highlighted long-standing disparities, the most notable of which is inadequate healthcare access. Social determinants of health are structural, systematic, and environmental conditions that leave an individual disadvantaged. The pandemic has clearly demonstrated that these determinants are not within the control of individuals. Rather, they're the result of a national and global socio-political decisions. As the resources that are available to these individuals become more strained due to hospital occupancy or funding fluctuations, the healthcare system will need to be flexible in meeting the medical needs. Effective communication regarding complex issues, such as concerns regarding vaccines, enables people to be informed, receive treatment, and remain safe. Continuing to provide accessible information to the general population could improve healthcare outcomes for those who are unlikely to seek medical attention otherwise. Understanding systems that interact with the newly vulnerable involve understanding their quality of life. Alongside quality of life, social status is deeply tied to systems and how they function. Social status consists of two facets. One is one's position in society. One's position within society is based on personal traits including, but not limited to, age, race, gender, level of ability, and socioeconomic status. The second is the perceived value of that position. One's position in society is valued differently across society. Social position and social value help define the boundaries of one's social status. This is also closely connected to something called social identity, or the groups within which one feels most welcome and identifies. New social identities can be formed during times of duress as survivors identify with each other based on their shared experiences, which encourages solidarity within a group. This not only impacts individuals' personal health and productivity, but can stretch into their social and family relationships, thereby distancing the individual from healthy support networks, or vice versa. As such, having a sense of intergroup solidarity with those who are vulnerable is important, and has been shown to increase restriction adherence, increasing safety for those who are high risk of negative health outcomes. Social settings can be classified as contributing to a subset of social status. Social settings consist of social processes, our interactions with others, as well as resources such as finances, time, space, connections, and ease of access. Resources and resource access both affect social processes which alter the outcomes within different settings. Understanding systems that impact the newly vulnerable involves understanding their social status. The third pertinent psychological factor underlying systems is social capital. This refers to how much an individual feels connected to the groups they identify with, as well as with the broader human systems they exist within. Any means of increasing people's positive attitudes towards groups could be beneficial in releasing the tension between such groups and fostering social capital. Supportive environments can increase social capital among individuals who are similar but not closely connected. Shared, uncontrollable experiences, such as unemployment, serve as a critical time for promoting positive intergroup relations. This also extends beyond the boundaries of one's identified groups, allowing for connections outside one's immediate community to be formed more readily. Additionally, being involved in social programs can contribute to the individual's social status, demonstrating the interplay between these three psychological factors. Social capital may have increased over this period, increasing in and out-group relatability, thereby providing an opportunity to design more effective poverty reduction methods. Understanding the systems that impact the newly vulnerable involves understanding their social status and social capital. Community resilience is further supported by such psychological factors. While individual change is an important aspect of such interventions, becoming too focused on individual outcomes can rapidly decrease the effectiveness of the program for most people. We came to recognize the Canadian Poverty Institute Vulnerability Framework as a helpful tool for understanding poverty and guiding our research. The Canadian Poverty Institute Vulnerability Framework thinks about poverty as a product of decreased resilience. Resilience is the capacity to handle stress. Vulnerability is a matter of whether people are capable of handling new economic stressors that may arise. With this in mind, the newly vulnerable can be defined as individuals who were fine before COVID, but have entered into poverty or are at risk of doing so in the near future. Specifically, someone who is newly vulnerable would have experienced or would be experiencing changes in their human capital, that is, their immediate physical, emotional, and mental resources. Someone who is newly vulnerable may have experienced changes in their social capital, that is, their ability to treat and leverage networks of positive relationships. Someone who is newly vulnerable may be affected by factors that arise from their life stage, that is, their age and resulting life circumstances. Someone who's newly vulnerable may be affected by unfair social systems, that is, the norms and institutions that organize our society. We designed our research methods with these psychological factors and definitions of the newly vulnerable in mind. Chapter 2 provides a systems map and regional background that looks at the support systems available in the 7 regions. Chapter 3 describes the impact of COVID-19 in Canada through review of reports put forward by others. Chapter 4 provides data we collected about these topics. Feel free to send me an email if you'd like to be interviewed in response to this information at jim.cresswell@ambrose.edu.